Yes. Today is the day. It's happening. We are finally going to start, for the very first time, the freshly rebuilt motor on this R90/6. Now, I know this is old news to those of you who have been following along with this project, but this is a 1975 BMW R90/6. Typically 898 cc's. I've rebuilt the motor with a Seibenrock Power Kit, so it is now a 1000 cc bike. The heads have been rebuilt and now dual plugged, so there's 2 spark plugs per cylinder for better combustion at the high compression rate this is running at. And this thing has gotten a complete teardown, including pulling the crankshaft out and replacing the main bush bearings. The whole process has been documented over the past couple months, everything from stripping this bike down in the first place to rebuilding the motor. And it has all been leading up to this, the first start. Now, there are a lot of opinions on how best to break a fresh motor in. I'm going to start by revving it up to, say, 3,500 RPM for a little bit. And in order to do that, there's one task that I still have to do. I couldn't let you guys just get away with seeing this thing start up right away. I'm going to make a throttle cable. It's literally the last thing I got to do. And then we're starting, I promise. That'll give me control over the RPM of the motor. And from the factory, this /5 had a cable coming from each carburetor going up to the throttle on the handlebar. There were 2 outputs on the throttle. However, what I have replaced it with is a single pole, single cable unit. So I'm adding a splitter to these cables. Essentially, the way this works is there's a tube with a little brass insert. The cables from the carburetors clip into that brass piece, and then a third cable clips into the other side, and that goes to your handlebar. So I've decided that I'm going to run that tube here on top of the voltage regulator. These are OEM cables. I'm going to trim down the housings, trim down the cable, add a new end onto it, and make this thing work. I also have a couple of little things that I need to figure out too, like why my valve cover is leaking oil, new gasket and everything. Hopefully something's not warped. At least I know that oil's getting up to the heads though. So first thing that I want to do when making this new cable is measure how much cable slack there is in this line. When I pull it all the way in one direction, I'm going to measure that, see how much cable is sticking out. That way when I shorten this thing, I'm going to keep that same length. Then go ahead and take your cable. Here we go. Now going back. Clip off the end. Now I'm going to slide this cable out of the housing. That way when I trim the housing, I'm not going to cut the cable that's inside it. I've already marked out where I want to trim the housing. It's right here, right before this like rubber bumper thing starts. So give a snip. You want to make sure that the housing is not being obstructed by either a piece of the metal wrapping or the plastic sheath within. I'm not going to go nuts explaining how to make cables and stuff. This isn't the first time that I've shown how to do cables. In fact, if you have any interest in learning about a 2-stroke 50cc scooter that is shaft drive, 2-speed, monoshock, and has a single-sided swing arm, you can check out this video up here. Where is it? I think it's a fun bike. It's one of my favorites. It's super weird, but I changed the carb out on that thing and I make a new throttle cable and block off the oil injection port and stuff and then ride it around. So at this point, you can go ahead, put the cables back in the housings. Obviously, you feed them through the correct side. All right, time to trim this side down. Now, this is the reason why we made that measurement. I have to trim the cable itself, not the housing, but the cable, to account for all of that housing that I just removed. So use that same measurement and mark out with like a Sharpie or something where we're going to trim that. Then go ahead, make your cut. Now, one thing that you want to do is, after you put the end of the cable on, is to smush up the end of the actual cable itself. So that the ferrule isn't going to slide off before you solder it into place. Now, there are tools to do this. They're just kind of expensive. I just whack it with a hammer. Does the job. So this final step, we're going to be soldering the cable end into place. First step, this goes into the flux only up to the point in which you want the solder to flow to. So we dip this in, we hold it for about 15 seconds. You may end up having to do a little filing in case you get like a weird tail or something at the end. Well guys, it's late in the day, but I think we're about ready to start. I finished up that throttle cable. The top half went pretty much the same way that the bottom half did. And I've gone ahead and just double checked and triple checked all my work, made sure the spark plugs are tight, made sure I have spark. The carburetors have been cleaned out, refreshed, all that good stuff. This is always a nerve-wracking thing, making sure that you don't forget something. But I've got a fuel bladder here. You know, I don't want to have to try to take the tank off in a rush if there's an issue or something. So I'm gonna put some gas in it and see if it won't start. Fingers crossed. It might just be the Cerakote or an exhaust leak, I'm not sure, but it f***ing ran, guys. It's the end of the day, and I get to go home happy because it started. It sounds healthy. It sounds great, in fact. I'll have to double check my valve clearances, make sure everything is still kosher. But next thing to do is ride the thing. Got a couple items on the list that I need to take care of before I can really put this on the road. I mean, you can see there's no license plate yet. I'm gonna have to, go through the thing, make sure all the bolts are tight. I'm gonna have to come up with some exhaust mounts for these cones. I'm gonna have to make some custom brake lines for the calipers to go to the new master cylinder, which is, I think, off of Moto Guzzi. But I don't know if you could tell. I'm really pleased. So it's always so anxiety-inducing to get to this point, and feels good. Well, this is probably one of the shorter videos that I'm going to have out on this project, but I'm sure you guys don't mind. Thank you for watching. Please like the video if you're as stoked as I am. And yeah, next time you see me, hopefully I'll be riding this. Thanks a lot. See you later.